The courtroom smelled like cold marble and fresh polish. The clock ticked slowly, and the only sound was the soft scratch of pens and the judge's gavel striking now and then. Marcus, the janitor, moved quietly through the back of the room, pushing his mop bucket along the edge of the wooden benches. He was used to being invisible. That's what happened when you cleaned floors for a living. People talked around you, walked past you, sometimes even through you. But today, Marcus was listening, and what he heard made his chest tighten. A young man was sitting at the defense table, trembling slightly. He couldn't be more than 22. His hands were cuffed, but his eyes were clear. They weren't the eyes of someone guilty. They were eyes screaming for anyone to believe him. The judge leaned back in his chair, a tall, thin man with sharp gray eyes and a nameplate that read Judge Ronald Whitmore. He tapped his fingers as the defense lawyer tried to explain why the evidence didn't match the charges. He wasn't there, the lawyer said. We have a witness. Judge Whitmore cut him off. A homeless man with a memory problem. That's your witness. He rolled his eyes and turned to the prosecutor. Go on. Marcus felt something stir in him. It was anger, yes, but something deeper. Recognition. He'd seen this scene before, not just once, over and over. A young black man on trial, a judge who had already made up his mind, a lawyer fighting an uphill battle, a courtroom full of people pretending it was all fair. He kept mopping, though his hand trembled slightly. He didn't say anything until he passed near the front. Under his breath, he whispered, I've seen this story before. The words weren't meant for anyone, but the judge heard. Excuse me? He said sharply. Did the janitor just speak? The entire room turned to Marcus. He froze. His mop bucket sloshed beside him. I didn't mean. The judge raised his hand. You're here to clean, not comment. Leave the courtroom at once. Marcus looked directly into the judge's eyes. You judged him like you judged me once, he said quietly. Gasps ran through the room. The judge's face tightened. Bailiff, he said, remove him. As the bailiff approached, Marcus didn't resist, but he kept his eyes on the judge. Not angry, just ... knowing. He walked out silently, leaving wet footprints behind. Outside the courtroom, the hallway buzzed with quiet gossip. Marcus leaned against the wall, heart racing. A young woman in a navy blouse came up to him. That was brave, she said. Stupid maybe, he replied. But thank you. I'm Alina, she said. Court reporter. She paused. You said he judged you once. What did you mean? Marcus hesitated. No one had asked him that in years. He looked down the hall, back toward the courtroom. You have time for a story? She nodded slowly. He started to speak, his voice low. I was 21. A law student, top of my class. I wore a suit like the rest of them, spoke like them, even quoted old court cases just like they did. But I wasn't like them. I didn't come from money. My father cleaned schools. My mother worked nights at the hospital. But I was good. Real good. Too good. Alina leaned in, listening. What happened? Marcus stared at the floor. I got framed. A classmate planted answers to the bar exam in my locker, said I cheated. There was no trial, just a hearing. Judge Whitmore presided over it. He didn't even look at me when he ruled. Just said, integrity matters more than ambition. Took everything from me. My scholarship, my record, my dream. I cleaned floors the next month. Alina's eyes widened. That's huge. Marcus smiled bitterly. To them, I was just a mistake to erase. But I remember everything. And I know that boy in there today. He's innocent. Just like I was. She stepped closer. You still know the law. I never forgot. Marcus replied. Every night I read Constitution, court transcripts, case law. It's all still in here. He tapped his head. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you asked. And because I think you still believe in justice. Just then, a woman ran past them, crying. Marcus recognized her. She was the mother of the boy on trial. He followed her outside. She was standing near the courthouse steps, shaking. He didn't do it. She kept whispering. He was home. I swear they just... She looked up at Marcus. They don't want the truth. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Tell me everything you know, he said. They sat on the bench. She explained how her son had gone to the store the night of the robbery, but the store camera was broken. A neighbor saw him come home early, but the police never took her statement. The only eyewitness was a man who lived on the street, someone the prosecution had discredited. But he saw what happened. Marcus asked. He said 2 white boys ran out of the store. Not my son, not even close. She broke down again. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not just anger anymore. Purpose. He stood up. Where does that man sleep? The witness? She asked. Behind the church on 5th, near the old shelter. I'm going to find him, Marcus said. That night, Marcus walked through the dark alleys, near the shelter. He asked around quietly. Most people ignored him. Some whispered about the man he was looking for, called him Pops. He don't talk to nobody, one guy said. Last time he did, cops beat him and broke his nose. Finally, behind a dumpster near the church, Marcus found him. A thin man with wild gray hair, wrapped in blankets. Pops, Marcus said gently. The man looked up, startled. Who's asking? I'm not a cop. I just want to hear your truth. Pops narrowed his eyes.
What?
Because someone's in prison who shouldn't be, and I think you know why. Silence. Then Pops sighed. 2 white kids. One with a limp, one with a scar on his neck. They ran right past me, dropped the bag. I picked it up and called 911, but when they came, they arrested the black kid down the block. I told them they said I was drunk. Marcus clenched his jaw. Do you remember their faces? Every wrinkle, Pops said. I remember everything. No one believes me, though. Marcus leaned forward. I believe you. He took Pops with him to a community clinic, got him food, got his wounds cleaned, then he sat with him and recorded his story. Every word. You think that'll matter? Pops asked. Marcus smiled. It's a start. The next morning, Marcus tried to submit the recording to the public defender's office, but something strange happened. The file was gone. The USB drive, empty. A sticky note was left in its place inside his locker. Stay in your place. His stomach dropped. He looked around the janitor's room. Empty, too quiet. The silence felt heavy, like something terrible was about to begin. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he whispered to himself, no, not this time. Because this time, he wasn't walking away. Marcus stood there in the janitor's supply room, staring at the empty USB drive in his hand. His heart pounded as the note trembled between his fingers. Stay in your place. Whoever had written that hadn't just deleted a file. They had sent a message, a threat. Someone in that courthouse knew he was digging, and they were scared. He sat down slowly on the small wooden stool by the cleaning supplies. His hands clenched, jaw tight. But instead of fear, a different emotion filled him. Fire. He had been silent for 20 years, swept under the rug like the dirt he mopped every day. But now, they knew he remembered Anne. That meant they were nervous. That meant he had leverage. He pulled out a small notebook from his pocket. He flipped past scribbled cleaning schedules and grocery lists until he found a blank page. On the top, he wrote one word in bold letters. Truth. That morning, Alina found Marcus in the parking lot outside the courthouse. He looked calm. Too calm. What happened? She asked. They deleted the recording, he said. What? And left me a warning. Her eyes widened. You're going to stop, right? No, Marcus said, shaking his head. I've stopped too many times already, she sighed, glancing around. Who do you think it was? Could be the bailiff, could be someone higher up, could even be the prosecutor. He paused. Or Judge Whitmore. You'd think the judge would go that far? She asked. I don't know, Marcus admitted, but if he didn't, he's turning a blind eye. And that's just as bad. Alina looked at him for a long moment. Then we need to go deeper, she said. I've got access to court archives. Let's see what else has been buried under Judge Whitmore's bench. That evening, the two of them met at a local diner with Wi-Fi. Alina brought her laptop, while Marcus carried 3 thick folders. They ordered coffee, sat in the corner booth, and started digging, case by case, file by file. And soon, patterns started to emerge. The same kinds of defendants, the same outcomes. Rejected witnesses, dismissed evidence. Rulings that leaned heavy in one direction. Look at this, Alina whispered, turning her screen. In the last 15 years, 82% of defendants of color were found guilty under Whitmore, compared to 29% of white defendants. Marcus nodded grimly. He's got a bias, a dangerous one. This could get him removed, Alina said. Only if it's proven, Marcus added. And we'll need more than numbers. Just then, a name in one of the files stopped him cold. His own. This is the record from my bar exam hearing, he whispered. They kept it. Alina leaned over. Let me see. The file had been scanned poorly, but Marcus could read enough. There was testimony. A witness had claimed to see Marcus, with stolen test answers, but the name of that witness was blacked out. Redacted. I never saw this before, he said. I wasn't allowed access to my own case. They said it was confidential. You could demand the original, Alina said. They have to provide it by law, and if they don't, we go public. The next day, Marcus filed a formal request for full disclosure of his hearing documents. He signed the papers with shaking hands, the pen almost falling from his grip. As he handed the papers to the courthouse clerk, she glanced at the name. Her eyes narrowed. Marcus Ellison. That's right. She took the papers and walked off without another word. By lunch, the entire courthouse was buzzing. The janitor was digging up ghosts, and the judge had started to notice. That afternoon, Whitmore called a recess during court and asked to see Marcus privately. The judge's chambers were quiet, dark wood shelves lining the walls. Law books stood like soldiers guarding power. Mr. Ellison, Whitmore said, not looking up. You've stirred quite the noise. I'm not here to make noise, Marcus replied calmly. I'm here for justice. The judge finally looked up. Justice, he repeated with a smirk. You lost that privilege when you cheated your way into law school. Marcus's hands tightened into fists. I didn't cheat, and you never even let me defend myself. Because there was no defense to make, Whitmore said coldly. And now you're cleaning my floors. Perhaps there's a lesson in that. The only lesson here, Marcus said, stepping forward, is that men like you think you'll never be questioned. But times change. Truth comes out. Whitmore stood up, his face pale. Be careful what stones you overturn. Mr. Ellison. Some of them are heavier than you think. Marcus turned to leave. I've lifted heavier. Outside the judge's chambers, Marcus found Alina waiting. She looked worried. He called you in. Tried to scare me, Marcus said. Did it work? Not even close. That night, Marcus returned to the shelter near the church. Pops was sitting on the curb, sipping tea from a paper cup. They took your file? He asked. They tried, Marcus replied. But I'm not done. Pops gave him a toothless smile. Then I'm not either. Together, they began recreating the lost testimony. Word by word, Marcus recorded again. This time backing it up 3 different ways: cloud, phone, SD card. But even as he worked, he knew someone was watching. He could feel it, and he was right. The next morning, when he opened his locker, a photograph was taped to the inside. It showed his apartment door wide open. A single line was written underneath. You were warned. Alina arrived moments later. What is it? Marcus showed her the photo. They're trying to scare me again. Maybe we need to go to the press, she said. No, not yet. I need to do one more thing first. What? Talk to the boy's mother again. There's something she left out. Like what? She mentioned a neighbor who saw her son come home, but the police didn't take her statement. I want to hear it directly. They drove to the apartment complex, an old building with peeling paint and broken stair rails. The mother answered the door with tired eyes. Miss Sharon, Marcus said gently. You said a neighbor saw your son that night. She nodded. Yes, Miss Carla, apartment 3C. Can we speak to her? She moved, Sharon whispered. 2 days after the arrest? Packed in the middle of the night? Marcus blinked. Did she leave a number? No, nothing. That night, Marcus sat alone in his apartment, staring at a map of the city. Pins marked the places he'd been. The church, the courthouse, the diner, the shelter. He was connecting dots that no one wanted connected, but something told him Miss Carla hadn't moved by accident. She had seen something someone wanted to bury. Suddenly a knock at the door. Marcus rose slowly. He opened it to find Pops, breathing heavily. They found me, he gasped. Who? Marcus asked. 2 men. Said they were with the DA, but they weren't. They wanted me to say I was lying. Did you? No, Pops said. I ran. Marcus grabbed his jacket. Come in. Lock the door. He turned on his phone, pulled up the recording, and uploaded it again, this time to a secure legal aid database. A small window popped. Upload complete. Then a second knock. Louder. He looked at Pops. Did they follow you? Pops didn't answer. The door handle began to turn. The door handle rattled harder this time. Marcus reached under the couch and pulled out a crowbar he used for cleaning out jammed maintenance hatches. Pops stood frozen, eyes wide, clutching the edge of the wall like a frightened child. For a moment, Marcus wondered if this was all worth it. A few months ago, he was invisible, just a janitor pushing a mop. Now, someone wanted him silenced. Not because he had power, but because he had truth. Stay behind me, Marcus whispered to Pops. Then he crept toward the door. Who is it? No answer. Just another rattling of the handle. If you break in, Marcus shouted, I'm calling the cops. Then silence. A few seconds passed. Marcus counted them in his head. 1, 2, 3, nothing. He slowly turned the lock and yanked the door open. No one, just an envelope on the floor, sealed in red wax. No name, no address. He picked it up with shaking fingers. Inside was a single sheet of paper, printed in all caps. Walk away or get buried. He showed Pops. Same threat. Pops asked. No, Marcus said. This one's worse. This one means they know I didn't listen the first time. The next morning, Marcus visited Alina at the newspaper office where she freelanced. She hadn't slept either. When he showed her the note, her face turned white. Marcus, this isn't just about the boy anymore. This is about you. I know, he said. And that's exactly why I'm not stopping. She sighed, then opened her laptop. I pulled something crazy, she said. You're going to want to see this. She turned the screen toward him. There, in front of his eyes, was a digitized photo from 20 years ago. A hearing panel. His hearing, and sitting quietly in the corner of the frame, was Judge Whitmore, not on the bench, but in the audience. He wasn't your judge back then, Alina said. But he was there, watching. He knew, Marcus whispered. He knew it was rigged before he ever wore the robe. There's more, she said, clicking a link. He had lunch with the prosecutor from your case a week before the panel? How do you know? Credit card logs. They were both at Chambers Bistro. Regular reservation? Marcus leaned back, stunned. He wasn't just watching. He was part of it. The two sat in silence for a moment. Outside, traffic rushed by, but inside, it felt like the world had stopped. Alina, Marcus said slowly, what if we're not just dealing with one bad judge? What if the whole system in this county is infected? She looked at him, eyes serious. Then we burn it down. The right way. Marcus and Alina spent the next 3 days creating a timeline. Every unjust ruling, every suppressed piece of evidence, every biased conviction. The numbers told a story, one that couldn't be ignored anymore. But the deeper they went, the more dangerous things got. Alina's tires were slashed outside her apartment. Marcus's paycheck mysteriously stopped showing up. Pops found his church shelter door locked one night with a notice pinned outside saying no admittance to known liars. The heat was rising, but so was the truth. One evening, as they gathered papers for submission to the State Oversight Committee, Marcus noticed something odd in the files. A signature, the same signature on multiple affidavits. The name was fake. He knew that now, but the handwriting matched. "Look at this," he told Alina. "These testimonies were all signed by the same hand. Different names, same writing." "Forgery," she whispered. "We can prove that if we get a handwriting expert." "We don't have time," she said. "Then we do the next best thing." They set up a secret meeting with an old friend of Marcus's, Lana Hughes. Once a lawyer, now disbarred for exposing judicial corruption in another city. She had nothing to lose, and even more to say. "You're not crazy," Lana said as she flipped through the files. "You're up against a machine. I've seen this before. They plant fake witnesses, use burner names, shred files. Then what do we do?" Marcus asked. "You leak it, all of it. But not to the press, to the people." "How?" "Live stream, testimony, timeline. Show your face. Tell your story. Let them hear it from your mouth." Marcus hesitated. He had spent 20 years being silent. Could he really now speak to the world? But Pops, sitting beside him, nodded. "You said you wanted justice, boy. It doesn't come through whispers. It comes through a shout." And that night, Marcus shouted. They set up a small camera in the back room of the church shelter. Pops sat behind the camera. Alina managed the stream. Marcus stood in front of the plain white wall, holding the note that had been slipped under his door. Then he began. "My name is Marcus Ellison. 20 years ago, I was falsely accused of cheating my way into law school. I wasn't given a fair hearing. My evidence was dismissed. My witnesses silenced. And a judge named Whitmore helped make sure I would never wear a lawyer's badge." He paused. "But today, I speak not as a janitor, not as a nobody, but as a man who remembers, and I'm here to tell you what they hoped you'd never hear." He walked the audience through the files, through the court documents, through the forged testimonies, through the statistics. "This isn't just about me," he said. "This is about every child of color who walked into a courtroom and walked out in chains. This is about every mother who prayed her son would come home. This is about the system, and today we hold it accountable." The live stream ran for 47 minutes. By the time it ended, tens of thousands had tuned in. The hashtag Ellison testimony trended within 2 hours. But while the world listened, danger brewed behind closed doors. The judge called an emergency meeting. The DA's office sent agents to verify claims, and someone unknown, faceless, began plotting the next move. That night, Alina's apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, but all the documents from her desk were gone. And on her wall, written in black marker, "Truth has a price." She called Marcus in tears. "They came for me," she whispered. "They want to scare us back into the dark." "We're too far now," Marcus said. "They've already shown the world who they are." "Then what do? We show them who we are." 2 days later, Marcus was called into court not to clean, but to testify. Someone had opened a formal investigation. The oversight board wanted to hear his story in person, and Whitmore, he'd be sitting just a few feet away. For the first time in 20 years. That morning, Marcus wore a simple gray suit. Pops tied his tie. Alina printed the final document list. Together, they walked into the courthouse 3. Nobody's ready to change everything. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, citizens, activists, and sitting at the bench was a replacement judge. Whitmore sat silently at the defense table, lips tight, eyes hard. As Marcus took the witness stand, a hush fell over the room. "Mr. Ellison," the judge began, "you may proceed with your testimony." Marcus took a breath. "This story starts with a mop," he said quietly, "but it ends with a mirror. One I'm holding up to this court. And it's time we all take a long look." The courtroom doors opened behind him. A woman entered quietly and took a seat in the back row. Alina turned to look and gasped softly. It was the missing neighbor myth, Carla, and she was holding a notebook. Marcus didn't see her, not yet, but everything was about to change. The courtroom was silent, but Marcus could feel thousands of eyes on him, some in the room, many more watching from their screens around the world. He could sense Alina's heartbeat just by how tight she gripped her pen. Pops sat on the edge of his seat, his old fingers twitching, as if he were holding the moment in prayer. Marcus cleared his throat, ignoring the sweat forming under his collar. "I'm not here to tell you a story of pity," he said, his voice steady. "I'm here to tell you how truth was buried, and how I came back to dig it out." He walked the courtroom through the timeline. He and Alina had built each decision that had been twisted, each piece of evidence that had vanished, each face that had turned away when justice cried out for attention. He read out the names of forged witnesses. He showed the scanned documents with identical handwriting. He even produced the dinner log between Whitmore and the corrupt prosecutor from 20 years ago. Every word felt like removing a brick from a wall that had trapped him his whole life. Whitmore sat stone-faced, arms crossed, eyes emotionless, but Marcus saw the slight twitch in the judge's cheek when the forged signatures were shown. The courtroom was hanging on every word. Even the court clerk had stopped typing, too drawn in by the moment. Then Marcus paused. His eyes scanned the crowd, and then he saw her. the woman in the back row, her hair pinned up like before, her eyes locked on him. Miss Carla. She was alive. She had come back. And she was holding the same notebook she used to carry years ago when she lived next door to him. Her eyes met his. She nodded just once. Marcus froze. The judge noticed. Is everything all right, Mr. Ellison? He blinked. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call a surprise witness. If the court permits. Gasps echoed. The judge narrowed her eyes. You have a sworn affidavit? No, but she has the truth. The judge paused, then nodded. Proceed. Marcus turned to the back row. Miss Carla, would you be willing to testify? Miss Carla stood slowly. The courtroom watched in silence as she walked to the front, her steps steady, her notebook clutched tight. She sat in the witness chair, swore her oath, and opened the book. Tell us what you know, Marcus said. I lived next door to Marcus 20 years ago, she began. The day he was accused, I remember hearing men in suits talking loudly outside his door. I didn't know what it was about, but a few days later, I saw them again. This time, they offered me money to say I saw Marcus cheating on an exam. Murmurs filled the room. Did you take the money? The judge asked. No, Carla said, but I didn't speak up either. I was scared. I was a single mother. I thought if I said anything they'd come after me, and then I disappeared. Moved across the country. She paused, her voice shaking. I watched Marcus's live stream last week. I cried the whole time. I knew I had run, but the truth doesn't stay hidden forever. Alina had tears in her eyes. Pops crossed himself. Marcus nodded in gratitude. Thank you, he said, for coming back. The judge turned to Whitmore. Do you deny any of these claims? He remained silent. His lawyer whispered in his ear, but Whitmore shook his head. No comment. But the damage had been done. That night, the news exploded with coverage. Headlines blazed. Corrupt judge exposed in emotional testimony. Janitor's truth breaks courtroom silence. Social media blew up again. But this time, a new hashtag trended. Hashtag Carla came back. For a moment, Marcus thought they'd won. But darkness doesn't fade so easily. The next morning, Pops didn't show up to their meeting at the cafe. Marcus called twice. No answer. Alina tried his shelter. Empty bed. They searched the neighborhood. Nothing. Finally, Marcus's phone rang. A blocked number. He answered, heart racing. We said walk away. The voice growled. Now your old friend walks nowhere. Click. The line went dead. Panic surged. Through Marcus's chest they took him. He whispered, they took Pops. We have to call the police, Alina said, and tell them what that corrupt ghosts of the justice system kidnapped a retired janitor. Marcus paced. No, we have to do this ourselves. We find him, we save him, but how? The camera, Marcus said suddenly. Pops was wearing a body cam for safety. It uploads to the cloud. Alina's fingers flew across her laptop. After a few tense minutes, she found it. The last footage showed Pops walking into a convenience store. Then two men in black pulling up. One had a scar across his chin. Pause, Marcus said. Zoom in. That man, I've seen him before. Where? In one of the court security photos. He's a private contractor, works with courthouse security. Then we know where to start. They took the footage to the oversight board, but the officials hesitated. We need time to verify this, one said. He may have just wandered off. He didn't wander off, Marcus snapped. He was taken. He's 78. He doesn't just vanish. But the board wouldn't move. So Marcus and Alina did the only thing left. They made the footage public. The next morning, the video of Pops being dragged into the black car was all over the internet. National news picked it up. Pressure mounted. The DA finally ordered an investigation, and just as they feared, Pops was found in an abandoned warehouse alive, bruised, but still breathing. Marcus rushed to the hospital. I thought I lost you, he whispered. Pops gripped his hand. Boy, he wheezed. If they're hurting us this much, it means we're winning. But that night, a fire broke out at the county clerk's office. Dozens of old case files were destroyed. Alina cried when she saw the news. They're covering their tracks, she said. Everything we built, it's all turning to ash. Not all of it, Marcus said. Some of it lives in people now. They've seen. They won't forget. And yet, deep inside, Marcus feared they were too late. The system was reacting violently. The machine was crashing down on them. But as he sat beside Pops's hospital bed, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. A video clip. He opened it. His heart stopped. It was Judge Whitmore, secretly recorded, sitting in his chambers, whispering to someone, saying one sentence. He knows everything. We need to get rid of the janitor before he drags us all under. Marcus looked at Alina. We've got him. Marcus stared at the video for a long time, unable to move. The judge's voice played on a loop in his head. He knows everything. We need to get rid of the janitor before he drags us all under. It wasn't just proof, it was a confession. A powerful man, caught admitting conspiracy, targeting the innocent. Alina leaned over his shoulder, her face pale. Where did it come from? She asked. Who sent this? Marcus shook his head. I don't know. There's no number, no name, just the video. Alina pulled out her laptop, quickly running metadata scans, tracking server trails. But whoever sent it knew what they were doing. The source was masked, encrypted, impossible to trace. Somebody wants to help, she whispered, but they're hiding. Or they're scared, Marcus said, just like the rest of us were. That morning, the two of them met with the district attorney. They didn't schedule an appointment. They simply walked into the building, holding the tablet with the video. The receptionist tried to stop them, but the DA's assistant saw their faces and led them in. You again, the DA said when he saw Marcus. You're becoming a regular. Problem? This problem, Marcus said, might fix everything. He pressed play. The judge's voice echoed through the office. The DA's expression shifted slowly from annoyance to discomfort to something close to fear. He leaned forward, listening to every word. When the video ended, he stood and walked to the window, arms crossed. Silence. Marcus waited. Alina spoke. First, that's a sitting judge, admitting he ordered harm against a witness. What are you going to do about it? The DA didn't turn around. Do you know what happens if I go after Whitmore? He faces justice, Marcus said, just like he made others face it for decades. It won't stop with him, the DA said. He's connected. If I move on him, others fall. And if they fall, the foundation of this courthouse shakes. Marcus stepped forward, then let it shake. The DA turned, his eyes locked with Marcus's. You're willing to bring it all down. If that's what it takes to rebuild? It right there was a long pause. Then the DA sighed. I'll issue a warrant for investigation, but quietly. No press, no noise. Not yet. No, Marcus said. You don't get to be quiet anymore. The silence is what let this happen. The world's already watching. We're not hiding the truth just to keep your office comfortable. Outside, the courthouse reporters swarmed. They'd gotten wind of the video, even though Marcus hadn't released it himself. Cameras flashed. Microphones crowded their faces. Mr. Ellison, are you saying the judge tried to have your friend killed? Is it true there's a conspiracy inside the court? Do you think justice can still be trusted? Marcus paused, took a breath, and looked into the lens of the nearest camera. All I ever wanted was the truth, he said. Now we have it. You decide what to do with it. That clip went viral. By evening, it had over 5 million views. Politicians started tweeting. Activists held rallies, but behind the attention, danger stirred. The next night, Marcus's apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but the message was clear: papers shredded, hard drives smashed, photographs torn. A single sentence spray-painted on his wall. Walk away or disappear. Alina was the one who found it first. She had arrived early to finish editing some documents. When Marcus entered, she was standing in the wreckage, shaking, her hands covered in ink from a broken pen. They're not playing games anymore, she whispered. Marcus looked around, his face hardening. Then neither are we. They moved everything important to cloud storage. They scanned every document, encrypted every file. Pops was discharged from the hospital, still sore but smiling. I've seen fear before, he told them, but this time, they're scared of you. That's why they're acting out. Then we keep going, Marcus said. We stay loud, we stay smart, we don't back down. You're gonna need more than that, Pops said. You're gonna need a courtroom. Days later, the court granted a special hearing to determine whether Judge Whitmore would be formally investigated and suspended. The hearing would be open to the public. It would be televised. Marcus was given permission to testify again, this time not as a janitor or an outsider, but as a key witness against a sitting judge. On the morning of the hearing, Marcus dressed in the same clothes he'd worn 20 years ago on the day. He was accused of simple shirt and tie, slightly loose at the neck. Poetic, Pops said when he saw him. You're walking in looking like the kid they tried to bury, but this time, you've got the shovel. Inside the courtroom, Whitmore looked different, less confident, tired, nervous, maybe, but still proud. He sat flanked by 2 expensive lawyers, his lips pressed into a thin line. Marcus took the stand. Tell us again what happened, the lead investigator said, but this time, tell it, like the whole world is listening. Marcus nodded, and he did. He told them everything, again but now with a different weight. He had proof now. He had Miss Carla's testimony. He had the video. He had Pops alive and sitting behind him. He had thousands of strangers online watching, cheering, hoping. You rolled your eyes when I first spoke, Marcus said, turning toward Whitmore. You thought I was nothing, just a janitor with a broom and a memory, but I remembered everything. And now everyone else does too. The investigator stood. And do you have any final evidence? Yes, Marcus said. The video, the one where he says to get rid of the janitor? I want the court to see it. The judge granted it. The courtroom lights dimmed. The video played. Whitmore's voice, quiet but unmistakable, filled the room. He knows everything. We need to get rid of the janitor before he drags us all under. When the lights came back on, no one spoke for a moment. The weight of those words lingered. Whitmore's lawyers huddled in panic. The presiding judge called for a short recess. Marcus sat down beside Alina. We did it, she whispered. But Marcus didn't smile. He watched Whitmore being led into the hallway, his face white with rage, his steps stiff. Something about it felt unfinished. An hour later, as the courtroom reconvened, Whitmore did not return. His chair sat empty. The judge looked uneasy. Where is the defendant? A bailiff whispered something into her ear. Her face dropped. He's missing, she said. The courtroom erupted in confusion. What do you mean, missing? Marcus stood. He ran. We don't know, the judge said. There's been a security breach. We're investigating. Marcus turned to Pops, who looked at him with worry. Alina's phone buzzed. A new video. No sender. She pressed play. Marcus watched over her shoulder. It was a live feed of Whitmore, tied to a chair in a dark room, and a voice in the background said, "You should have let the janitor go." Alina's hands trembled as the video played. The camera was shaky but focused. Judge Whitmore sat in a metal chair, his hands bound tightly with thick rope. His mouth was taped, the bruise darkened one eye. The voice behind the camera was calm, but the words were chilling. You thought you were untouchable. You laughed while lives were destroyed. You used your robe like a weapon. Now, you get to sit and think about all the people you hurt. The screen flickered, then went black. There was no logo, no symbol, no threat, just silence. Marcus blinked. This isn't justice, he said slowly. This is something else. Pops moved closer, taking the phone gently from Alina. And hand someone's taking matters into their own hands, he said, and they want you to see it. Within minutes, the courthouse was in chaos. Security rushed into every corridor. The hearing was halted. Reporters shouted questions at anyone who walked by, and the presiding judge stood frozen in her seat, staring at the empty chair where Whitmore should have been. Marcus and Alina were pulled aside by detectives and escorted to a private room for questioning. Did you send the video? A officer asked. No, Marcus replied firmly. It was sent to us anonymously, just like the last one. Do you recognize the voice? No, but they clearly wanted us to see it. The officer narrowed his eyes. And what exactly do you think this is? A message, Alina answered. Someone's saying the system failed, so now they're taking control. The officer stood. Until we find Whitmore, everyone is a suspect. That includes you. Don't leave the city. By that evening, the video had leaked online. No one knew who uploaded it, but it spread fast. Tens of millions of views in less than 6 hours. Comments exploded, some cheering, some horrified, many confused. Was it real? Was it staged? Was it revenge or justice? Marcus watched the reactions in silence. He didn't know how to feel. We never wanted this, he said finally. We wanted the truth, not whatever this is. Alina sat beside him. Do you think he deserved it? What he did to me, to Pops, to all the others? Yeah, he deserves punishment, but like this. Marcus turned away. I don't know. The next morning, a package arrived at Alina's apartment. No return address. Inside was a USB drive and a single note. The janitor deserves to see what they hide. They plugged it into an isolated laptop. More video files, dozens of them, secret recordings, courtroom meetings, off-the-record conversations, judges laughing about bribery, prosecutors swapping deals in back rooms. And in nearly all of them, Whitmore was there leading, encouraging, profiting. Alina covered her mouth. This is bigger than we thought. This is decades of corruption. Marcus leaned forward, eyes wide. This is why they were so afraid. Why they tried to bury me. Because I saw something back then, and if I talked, it would unravel all this. They spent the next 2 days organizing the files, labeling them, creating backups, but something felt off. They were being watched. Marcus noticed a car parked near his building every night, same model, same dent in the bumper. Alina's internet slowed down suspiciously, then crashed entirely. One night, Pops came back from the grocery store, pale and sweating. 2 men followed me, he whispered, didn't speak, just stood too close. Like they wanted me to know. That night, Marcus made a decision. We're going public. All of it. No waiting, no more silence. We drop everything online, let the world see the truth. If they want war, we fight in the open. But before they could upload the files, something unexpected happened. A new video arrived. No title, number, sender, just a dark room again. Whitmore was still tied up. But this time, his mouth was uncovered. He spoke. I'm sorry, he said, voice shaky. Not because I was caught, because I was wrong. I thought I was the system, I thought I was the law, but I wasn't. I was just a man, and I failed. The camera zoomed in. His eyes were swollen red. To the janitor, he said, Marcus, I know your name now. I remember your face. I remember what you saw that night. I destroyed your life. I'm sorry. Then he looked down. They're going to end it soon. I don't know who they are, but I hear them. Please. Tell my family I was afraid. The screen cut to black. For a long time, Marcus didn't move. Pops wiped a tear from his cheek. Alina whispered, he's going to die. Marcus stood up. Not if we stop it. You want to save him? Alina asked, shocked. After everything he did? Marcus stared at the wall. He's still human. If we let them kill him, we're no better. I won't build my justice on revenge. But how do we find him? We don't, Marcus said. We make them come to us. That night, Marcus recorded a message of his own. He stood in the middle of an empty room, looking directly into the camera. To whoever has Judge Whitmore, he said, I understand your pain. I understand your anger. I carried it for years, but this is not justice. This is fear pretending to be power. Let him go, give him to the law. If you really believe in truth, don't hide in the dark. Come face us. Then he paused. I don't forgive him, but I won't let him be silenced. He needs to testify. He needs to answer, not disappear. They uploaded the video. Within hours, it was trending. Hashtag let him testify. Celebrities joined in. News anchors debated it live. People weren't sure who to support anymore, the janitor, the vigilante, or the judge, but the pressure worked. 2 days later, Marcus got a call from a blocked number. A voice distorted and robotic spoke. We'll return him, but you'd better be ready for what comes next. That night, a black van pulled up outside the city hospital. Whitmore was dropped at the entrance, bruised, dehydrated, but alive. He said nothing, just collapsed. Police swarmed the area, but the van was gone. No license plate, no prints, just smoke. Inside the hospital, Marcus walked into the room slowly. Whitmore looked up, startled. His voice cracked. Why did you save me? Marcus sat down beside him. Because someone had to. Whitmore cried, really cried, for the first time. You were just a boy, he whispered, and I destroyed you. You destroyed yourself. Marcus replied quietly. I just helped everyone see it. What now? Whitmore asked. Now you talk, Marcus said. Now you tell the world everything. The next hearing was scheduled for 3 days later. It would be the biggest trial the city had seen in years. Whitmore would testify under oath. The videos would be played. Names would be named. But as Marcus walked out of the hospital, his phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, no video. Just a sentence. Whitmore was only the first. Should have let him die. The hallway outside the courtroom was tense, filled with quiet murmurs and anxious faces. Armed guards stood on both ends. Journalists pressed against the ropes with flashing cameras. Marcus adjusted the collar of his jacket, eyes locked ahead. Alina walked beside him, her hand wrapped firmly around a thick folder of evidence. Pops lagged just behind them, leaning heavily on his cane, but his eyes were sharper than ever. You sure about this, son? He asked. There's no turning back after today. Marcus nodded slowly. It has to be done. If we stop now, they'll keep hiding. Someone has to say it. Out loud. Inside, the courtroom was full. No empty seats. Every major network had a camera in place. Across the room, Judge Whitmore sat in a wheelchair, looking pale, his hands folded on his lap. People whispered as he entered. Some glared, some seemed confused, still trying to process how a man once seen as the face of justice was now at the center of the city's biggest scandal. He didn't look back, didn't speak, just waited. The bailiff called the court to order. All rise. Judge Carrington stepped in, a woman known for her blunt rulings and calm demeanor. She sat quietly, then said, This hearing will determine whether charges against Judge Thomas Whitmore shall be formalized and extended to other identified individuals. She looked around. If you're here to defend the system, remember truth doesn't need defense. It needs exposure. Marcus was the first witness. As he took the stand, flashes went off like lightning. His heart beat hard against his ribs, but his voice didn't shake. I was a janitor. I cleaned courtrooms, bathrooms, everything. I kept my head down. But one night I stayed too long. I saw Judge Whitmore, 2 lawyers, and a man I later found out was from a real estate firm. They laughed. They passed envelopes. They mentioned names of people who would be handled, and then they saw me. He paused. A week later, I was fired, then arrested, drug charges. Nothing was real. Nothing ever got proven, but I lost everything. I was made an example. He turned his gaze to the cameras. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. But I remember what I saw, and I'm not scared anymore. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Judge Carrington asked calmly, Do you have proof? Alina stepped forward, handing over a thick file. USB drives, videos, audio, transcripts. You'll find 32 names mentioned repeatedly. 10 are still serving judges. 6 are former prosecutors. 4 are city developers. The judge raised an eyebrow but said nothing. One by one, the videos were played, laughter in dark rooms, backroom deals, property seizures, judges, mocking defendants, and over again, the same faces. Marcus watched the room as each file played. People squirmed, some cried. A few left the room in shame. When the last clip ended, no one spoke for a full minute. Then Judge Carrington looked toward Whitmore. Do you have anything to say before I make my recommendation? Whitmore struggled to sit upright. His voice was barely above a whisper. I was wrong. I thought I was helping the system stay stable, but I wasn't. I helped corrupt it. I let good people suffer. I lied, and I was too proud to stop. He looked directly at Marcus. I owe you the truth. I don't expect forgiveness. Outside the courtroom, chaos erupted. News vans raced to break the story first. Hashtags trended again. Hashtag janitor justice. Hashtag courthouse conspiracy. Hashtag testify or fall. But while the world celebrated the exposure, something darker moved beneath the surface. That night, Pop's window was smashed. A brick landed on his floor with a note tied to it. Stop talking, or we stop you. Alina's tires were slashed. Her apartment lock tampered with. Marcus's inbox filled with anonymous threats. But People behind the conspiracy were still out there, and now they were angry. Marcus met with Detective Rayner, the only cop who seemed to believe him from the beginning. "You've rattled something big," Rayner said. "And it's going to bite back. The judge is just the start. There are senators on those tapes, bankers, police chiefs. These people don't go down quietly." "Then help us," Marcus said. "We need protection. We need this to go higher." Rayner shook his head. "I can't promise safety, but I'll get your files to the federal level. I know a U.S. attorney in D.C. She owes me. I'll make the call." As Marcus left the station, he glanced over his shoulder. A man in a hoodie stood across the street, unmoving, watching. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. He paced the living room while Pops dozed on the couch. Every creak, every passing car, made his chest tighten. Around 2 a.m., a soft knock tapped the door. Not loud, not repeated, just once. He froze. Grabbed a metal rod, stepped closer, then a voice. Familiar. "Marcus, it's me." It was Whitmore, blood on his cheek, limping, barely standing. "What are you doing here?" Marcus asked. "They're not going to wait," Whitmore whispered. "I overheard something. There's a plan. They're going to take out the evidence, burn it, all of it. And you." Marcus pulled him inside. "What do you mean, take it out?" "There's a warehouse, where they kept all their backups. The judge's old files, cash payments. I knew about it. They think I'm too scared to talk, but it's all there, and they plan to destroy it tonight." Marcus looked at Alina. "Can we get there?" She grabbed her laptop. "If he gives us the address, I can map it. But we don't have time. If they're destroying it, they won't leave traces." Whitmore handed over a small key. "It opens the back entrance. Just ... Be careful." Alina hesitated. "It's a trap." Marcus shook his head. "It's our last shot. If we don't stop them now, everything we've done will disappear. They'll rewrite the story. Again." As they drove through the night, the streets were silent. Fog rolled in low. The warehouse was near the docks, gray rusted. Forgotten, Alina parked 2 blocks away. "We go in quiet," Marcus whispered. "Get what we can, then call Rayner." They crept toward the side gate. Whitmore's key clicked softly in the lock. The door opened with a groan. Inside, shelves stretched up like skeletons. Boxers labeled with initials, laptops, photos, hidden bank slips. The past, filed and stored. "This is it," Alina said. "This is everything." But just as she reached for a box, a light snapped on overhead. A voice echoed. "Thought you'd come." 4 men stepped from the shadows. Suits, gloves, cold faces. One of them pointed. "Grab the girl," and the janitor. Another cocked a pistol. Marcus froze. "Run," he shouted. Alina dropped the box and dashed into the rows. Pop swung his cane hard, knocking one man off balance. Whitmore, weak as he was, tackled another from behind. Marcus charged forward, fists flying. The room became chaos, shouts, crashes, the sound of wood splintering. Alina found a fire extinguisher and sprayed it blindly. White mist clouded the air. Sirens wailed in the distance. Rayner had come through. The attackers fled, slipping into the dark. But Marcus clutched a box tight to his chest. Panting, "We got it," he said. "We got proof." But as they stepped outside, Rayner's car screeched to a halt. He jumped out, eyes wide. "You're not safe," he said. "The courthouse. It's gone?" "What?" Marcus asked. Stunned. Rayner pointed behind them. Smoke rose into the sky, thick black and endless. The flames rose higher than anyone expected. The courthouse, a place where truth was supposed to live, now stood surrounded by fire trucks, panic, and thick black smoke. People gathered, gasping, holding phones up to record the chaos. Some cried, some just stared. "It was planned," Rayner said, jaw clenched. "They waited for you to bring the truth, then erased the rest." Marcus stood still, sweat on his forehead mixing with ash in the air. He held the box tightly against his chest. The one they pulled from the warehouse. Everything that was inside that building. "It's gone now," he whispered. Alina stepped closer. "Not everything. You're still standing. That box is still in your hands. And now the whole country's watching." But Marcus knew it wasn't over. If they were willing to burn a courthouse to silence him, they'd do worse to the people around him. Pops leaned against the car, coughing hard. His chest rattled, eyes watery from the smoke. "You sure this is worth it, boy?" Marcus looked at the sky. "I used to clean that floor. I scrubbed it till my hands cracked. And the same people walking on it were laughing at people like us, judging us like they were gods. Yeah, it's worth it." Later that night, the city mayor held a press conference. He was stiff, sweaty, and struggling to explain. "We believe this was the result of faulty wiring in the courthouse archives. We are investigating the cause," and reporters interrupted him. "Mayor, what about the evidence of corruption tied to Judge Whitmore and others? Are you suggesting that's unrelated?" Another shouted, "Isn't it convenient the fire began where evidence was stored?" But the mayor just stuttered and walked off without answering. The next day, hashtags exploded again. Hashtag evidence arson. Hashtag they burned the truth. Hashtag janitor vs system. News anchors called Marcus brave. Radio shows debated how deep the corruption went. For once, the nation wasn't laughing at a janitor. It was listening. To him still, Marcus wasn't safe. None of them were. Raynor pulled them into a safe house outside city limits. A dusty old cabin with no internet, one phone line, and a single bolt-locked door. Pops grumbled at the lack of TV but stayed quiet most of the time, watching through the window like a soldier on patrol. Whitmore barely spoke. His hands shook constantly. The guilt was eating him alive. "Do you believe in redemption?" he asked Marcus one night as they sat by a dying fireplace. "Depends," Marcus replied. "Are you asking for it or offering it?" Whitmore didn't answer. By morning, Marcus and Alina were back on the move. They had the box. Inside were names, dates, amounts, hidden USB drives, and printed emails. Everything Whitmore had secretly collected over the years. They drove across state lines to meet with the U.S. attorney Raynor had mentioned. Her name was Margaret Steele. Cold eyes, gray suit, the kind of woman who didn't smile unless it helped her case. "You're taking a hell of a risk," she said, examining the files. "This implicates federal judges, corporate CEOs, even a congressman. You understand what happens next, right?" Marcus nodded. "I didn't come this far to back out now." Steele narrowed her eyes. "All right, I'll take it. But if you hear anything strange, cars idling outside, strange clicks on your phone, you call me. You've poked a bear with very long claws. They already tried to kill us," Alina added. "They burned the courthouse. Then they'll do worse next," Steele replied. "Because now they know they didn't stop you." Back at the cabin, something felt off. Pops was missing. His cane was by the door. Whitmore was gone too. A paper note was taped to the fridge. "Don't come looking. It's bigger than you think." Marcus froze. No. They didn't just walk out. Alina searched the bedroom's empty. The only thing left behind was a small recording device under Pop's bed. Marcus clicked play. Whitmore's voice crackled through. "If you're hearing this, they've come for me. And I went willingly, because I had to. They're holding something over me, a file, from decades ago. It doesn't matter if it's true. It'll destroy everything. I know I've done wrong, but this is my way of making it right. I'll take their deal. But I left you enough. Finish what I couldn't." The tape cut off. Marcus gritted his teeth. They're forcing him to retract. To lie, he'll be on the news any minute, saying we made it all up. He was right. That evening, Whitmore appeared in a broadcast, sitting stiffly in a gray chair, pale and sweating. "I wish to correct my previous statements. The recordings were fabricated. The warehouse evidence was staged. I no longer support the claims made by Mr. Marcus Johnson." Reporters looked stunned. Some didn't believe it, but the damage was done. The powerful were rewriting the script again. Alina slammed her fist on the table. "This is what they do. Every time someone speaks out, they either vanish or change their story. We can't let this happen again." Marcus stared at the screen. "Then we go louder. We don't let them edit us out. We go live." They drove to a friend's place. Jay, a former journalist turned podcast host with a huge following. Jay listened to the story, eyes wide. "You got all that on tape?" Marcus nodded. "And we've got documents, video, bank trails." Jay leaned forward. "Then we live stream this. No edits, no filters. Straight to the people." The stream began that night. Marcus sat in front of the camera, heart pounding. "My name is Marcus Johnson. I used to mop the floors of a courtroom, the same courtroom where I was judged by people who were hiding secrets. I was never supposed to speak. I was supposed to disappear, but I didn't, and I won't." For 2 hours, they revealed everything. Clips, files, names, faces. Jay's audience swelled to millions. Comments poured in. "We believe you. Don't stop. We're with you." Then, a message popped up in the livestream chat. One line. "You think you're safe." Seconds later, the screen went black. Power gone. Internet dead. Alina looked around. That wasn't a glitch. Jay reached for his phone. No signal. Marcus stepped to the window. A black car sat across the street. Doors opened. Men stepped out. Suits, sunglasses. One of them raised a walkie-talkie. "Move in." Jay's eyes widened. "They found us." Alina grabbed the files. "We need to run now." As they fled through the back alley, the sound of boots echoed behind them. Dogs barked in the distance. Helicopters circled overhead. Marcus clutched the last backup drive against his chest. The truth was still alive, but barely. And with every step, they knew the next moment could be their last. The rain came down hard as Marcus, Alina, and Jay dashed through the alleyways behind Jay's studio. The files were stuffed into a backpack, already soaked, but still safe for now. The men in black were close. Too close. Their footsteps echoed on the wet concrete. A beam of light swept across the alley, then another. They split up. Alina whispered, pulling Marcus by the hand. "Don't stop." Jay was falling behind. He wasn't built for running. Not anymore. "Go. I'll distract them," he called out, skidding into a side alley and knocking over trash bins to make noise. Marcus hesitated. "Jay, no. Go." Jay yelled again, then vanished into the shadows. A moment later, shouting and the crackle of a taser echoed through the street. Alina tightened her grip on Marcus. "He gave us time. Let's use it." They reached an old church, boarded up and silent. It was one of Jay's backup hideouts. They climbed through a broken side door and collapsed onto the dusty floor. Marcus's chest heaved. Alina winced from a cut on her arm. He knew this might happen. She whispered, "Jay, he told me yesterday, if it comes down to it, I'll take the hit." Marcus stared at the wooden ceiling. "I never wanted people to get hurt. I just wanted them to know the truth." "The truth always hurts someone," Alina replied, "but hiding it hurts more." They lit candles in the dark chapel. Alina unzipped the bag and pulled out the soaked files, laying them flat to dry. The backup drive was still intact. Marcus pulled out a small recorder. "What are you doing?" she asked, recording a message. "In case we don't make it," he said. He pressed record. "If you're hearing this, my name is Marcus Johnson. I was born invisible, raised invisible, laughed at, ignored, overlooked. I cleaned the floors of justice, but never received any myself. This story isn't just mine. It belongs to every forgotten voice. And if I disappear, let it be proof. They're scared of people like me, people who don't give up." He stopped the recording. Alina wiped her eyes. "We're not done yet." At dawn, they slipped out of the church and headed for a contact. Alina knew Sandra, a cybersecurity expert who used to work for the government. Now she ran a quiet little repair shop, but her real business was off-the-books data recovery. They found her tinkering with a laptop. Her shop looked like a mess, but Marcus could tell she was sharp. "You brought heat to my door, girl," Sandra muttered, "but I like you, so I'll help. What do you need?" Alina handed over the backup drive. "We need it duplicated, spread to 10 different locations. We can't lose this again." Sandra nodded. "Give me 4 hours. And don't die in that time." While Sandra worked, Marcus paced outside. His phone buzzed. A burner, one of the few still working. The message chilled him. "You've gone too far. Time's up." Seconds later, a video appeared. Marcus tapped it. His knees went weak. It was Pops, bruised, tied to a chair. Someone off-screen asked, "Where's the boy?" Pops spat blood. "Go to hell." The video cut. Marcus nearly dropped the phone. "They have him. They're going to kill him." Alina read the message and bit her lip. "They're forcing your hand. Give up, or Pops dies." Marcus looked at the city skyline. "I can't give up." He wouldn't. "Want that? Then we get him back," Alina said. Sandra overheard from inside and popped her head out. "You want to pull off a rescue mission and expose the truth? You need help, and I know someone crazy enough to try." An hour later, a man walked in tall, muscular tattoos up his neck. "This, the janitor?" he asked. "Name's Malik. Ex-military, ex-con. I hate suits, love justice. Let's break your friend out." Malik had contacts. He learned Pops was being held at a private estate outside town, owned by one of the CEOs Marcus had exposed. "They're not hiding him in a prison," Malik said. "Too obvious. They're keeping him somewhere cameras can't reach. But I got a plan." That night, under a moonless sky, Malik drove Marcus and Alina up to a hill overlooking the estate. Armed guards patrolled the property. Dogs barked. Spotlights swept the area. "This is insane," Marcus whispered. "Yup," Malik grinned. "But you already kicked the hornet's nest. Might as well steal the queen." They moved through the woods. Malik took out 2 guards silently. Alina hacked the security gate using Sandra's tools. Inside, the mansion loomed. Marcus felt his heart in his throat. "What if he's not here?" "He's here," Malik said. "They want you scared, and nothing scares you more than losing him." They crept through the back, slipping into the basement. There, in a cold room, Pops sat tied to a chair. He looked up, bruised but alive. "Took you long enough," he croaked. Marcus ran to him. "I'm sorry, Pops." "Don't be," Pops whispered. "Just finish it." Suddenly, the lights flickered on. A voice echoed from a speaker. "Touching? But did you think it would be that easy?" Doors slammed shut. Traps triggered. They were locked in. Alina frantically typed into the wall panel. They rigged it to shut if motion was detected. "We've got maybe 5 minutes before the gas starts." Malik pulled out a small explosive. "Stand back." He placed it on the door hinge. The blast was loud but effective. They rushed out, carrying Pops. Alina fired off smoke grenades to confuse the guards. Bullets followed them as they ran. "Come on," Malik yelled. They dove into the getaway car and sped off. Pops lay in the back seat, coughing but smiling. "Not bad for a janitor," he murmured. Marcus held his hand. "We're not done yet, old man." Back at Sandra's shop, the drives were ready. Multiple copies, emails prepared to send. Alina hooked them into her server. "Once I hit send, the whole world gets the truth. No more edits, no more lies." But then her screen blinked. An alert. "System breach." It read, "Remote override detected." Marcus's eyes widened. "They're inside. Someone hacked our signal." Alina said, "They're trying to delete everything." Sandra jumped into action. "I can slow them down, but you've got 2 minutes max." Marcus grabbed a camera. "We go live again right now." "It won't reach far," Alina said. "They've throttled the connection. Then I say what needs to be said before they shut me down." He stood in front of the webcam. "You tried to silence me, burned buildings, took people I love, tried to erase my name. But I'm still here, and I won't stop. I am not just a janitor. I am a witness, and I swear to God, I will be heard." The feed began to lag. Viewers poured in. Then it froze. Black screen. Connection lost. Alina stared in horror. They killed the feed. Everything's gone. Marcus sat in silence. Then his phone buzzed again. A new video. This time from someone anonymous. It was a screen recording someone had captured the entire live stream before it was taken down. The voiceover said, "I saved this, and I'm sending it everywhere. You're not alone." Then, another message. And another. Hundreds, thousands. "We downloaded your truth, we're spreading it. They can't stop all of us." Marcus looked at Alina. "We started something." "Yeah," she said, smiling through tears. "We really did." But outside, black vans were pulling up, and this time, they weren't knocking. Marcus stood frozen as the vans rolled up outside Sandra's shop. He saw the shadows moving behind the tinted windows. Men stepping out in black uniforms with no insignia. No badges, no names, just weapons. Alina ducked behind the desk, heart pounding. "They found us again," she whispered. Sandra was already disabling the lights. "Basement, now," she hissed. Malik carried Pops on his shoulder as they rushed through a back door leading down a narrow stairwell. Marcus hesitated. He looked at the screens, still showing messages pouring in from strangers around the world. "They saw it," he whispered. "They saw everything." Then a gunshot rang out. A bullet smashed through the front window. Marcus flinched and bolted down the steps, pulling the trapdoor shut behind him just as the door above exploded inward. Down in the basement, it was dark and cramped. Pipes hissed. Dust floated in the thin light from a flickering emergency bulb. Malik held his pistol steady. "There's a tunnel," Sandra said. "Old coal chute from when this building was a factory leads to the sewers. Go left, crawl 50 meters, take the iron ladder. It'll drop you 2 blocks east. I'll stay and slow them down." "No way," Marcus said. "They'll kill you." "I'm already on 100 watch lists," Sandra said with a crooked smile. "Besides, I've got surprises waiting upstairs." "Go." Pops touched Marcus's arm. "Son, sometimes people die so truth can live. You gave us a reason to fight. Now run." The group crawled through the tunnel, silence broken only by the distant sound of boots above. When they reached the sewer grate, Malik pried it open and helped Pops up the ladder first. Marcus climbed last. His muscles burned. His mind raced. What if Sandra didn't make it? What if none of this mattered? When he reached the top, he saw 2 people standing there. Not enemies. Protesters. Teenagers. One held a sign with Marcus's face on it. The other wore a hoodie that read, "Truth has no rank." "You're him?" one said breathlessly. "We saw your stream. You're the janitor." "He's more than that," Alina said. "He's the spark." The streets were alive. It had started quietly, a few people gathering near the courthouse, holding signs, candles. Then the stream went viral. Now there were hundreds, then thousands. And they weren't just protesting, they were demanding. Demanding the files be released. Demanding arrests. Demanding answers. "We need to show up," Alina said. "You said it yourself. They can't silence everyone." Malik wasn't sure. "They'll try to kill him in a crowd. You know that, right?" Marcus shook his head. "They had every chance. I'm still here, I think. It's time I stop running." The next morning the sun rose over a city divided. On one side, the courthouse stood tall, surrounded by riot police and barriers. On the other, a sea of people chanting, holding up printed screenshots of Marcus's story. Every race, every age. Signs read, "He mopped their floors, then mopped the floor with them. We believe the janitor. Justice doesn't wear a robe." Marcus stepped up to the front line. Pops stood beside him, walking slowly but proud. Alina live-streamed from her phone. Malik flanked them, eyes sharp. As they approached the steps of the courthouse, the crowd parted. And there he stood. Judge Whitaker, the same man who had rolled his eyes at Marcus's story, who had dismissed him like trash. Now he stood behind a microphone, flanked by guards. His face was pale, but his mouth was tight. "This ends now," Whitaker said into the mic. "This janitor has spun lies, endangered the public, and attacked the very system that protects you." Boos rang out. Bottles were thrown. Someone shouted liar, but Whitaker raised his hand. "Let him speak," he said coldly. "Let him say whatever last words he wants before we charge him with treason." Marcus stepped forward. His voice trembled at first, then it grew. "I was born into silence. I scrubbed floors while they signed away people's lives. I saw what they did, how they hid corruption behind paperwork and privilege. And when I spoke up, they tried to erase me. But you saw it too. You watched what they never wanted you to see." He pointed at Whitaker. "This man called me a liar, but I have one question for you. Judge, if I'm lying, why are you so scared?" The crowd roared. Whitaker flinched. "Enough," he shouted. "Arrest him." Officers moved in. Alina screamed. Pops stepped in front of Marcus. But then something unexpected happened. One of the officers, young Latina, lowered his baton, then another, and another. They stepped aside. One knelt. "We took an oath to protect truth," he said. "We're not the enemy." Whitaker panicked. "This is an illegal gathering. He's a criminal." But behind him, news crews had arrived. Cameras, microphones. Marcus's story was now front page. And one by one, people from the courthouse, secretaries, clerks, even 2 other judges stepped out with manila folders. We have files, one woman said. We're ready to testify. Whitaker backed away red-faced. He shouted orders, but no one listened. The chief of police arrived, stepping through the crowd. Judge Whitaker, you are hereby placed under investigation for obstruction of justice, evidence tampering, and conspiracy. Whitaker froze. You can't do this. I'm the law. No, Marcus said. You were the law. Now you're just a man who got caught. The crowd erupted, but Marcus wasn't smiling. Not yet. Because this wasn't over. That night, as the city celebrated, Marcus sat on the roof of a motel, watching the sky. Alina joined him. You did it, she said softly. No, Marcus replied. We did it. All of us. She touched his hand. Tomorrow, you could be on national TV. Your name's trending worldwide. They're calling you the Janitor of Justice. He laughed quietly. That's crazy. You earned it. But as they sat there, a van pulled up across the street. A man stepped out. Tall, older, wearing a suit too expensive for anyone who wasn't powerful. He looked up at the motel window and smiled. Alina noticed. Who is that? Marcus's smile faded. I don't know. But I don't think this is the end. The man held up a phone. Marcus's burner buzzed. One message. You shook the walls. But the foundation is deeper than you think. See you soon. Marcus stared at the screen, then looked at the city again. If they're coming, he said, then we keep fighting. The sky was still dark when Marcus opened his eyes. He hadn't slept, not really. His mind kept repeating the message on his phone. You shook the walls. But the foundation is deeper than you think. See you soon. He didn't recognize the number. It was untraceable. Alina lay beside him on the other bed in the motel room, her camera battery charging near the nightstand. Pops was in the next room, guarded by two protesters who'd become part of their inner circle. Malik hadn't come back from the gas station. That bothered Marcus. He dressed quietly and stepped outside. The city had calmed. Protest signs leaned against walls. Spray-painted messages like "We stand with the janitor and truth greater than power" decorated the alleys. But something felt off. A strange quiet. No sirens, no helicopters. Marcus turned the corner and stopped cold. Malik was kneeling in front of the van. His hands were tied behind his back. Blood trickled from his nose. Standing over him was the man from the night before, the one in the expensive suit. You're early, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady. The man smiled without humor. We never left. We've always been here. We just needed to know how loud you were willing to scream before we decided how to respond. You threatening me? Marcus asked. Threatening? The man chuckled. You misunderstand. We don't threaten. We erase. Another man stepped up from the shadows, camera in hand. He tossed Marcus a folder. Inside were photos of his childhood home, the foster families he cycled through, the hospital where Pops was treated, even old footage of Marcus sweeping floors from 10 years ago. We're invisible, the man said. We liked you that way. Then you decided to become a symbol. Marcus didn't flinch. You've got dirt on me. So what? I've got files on all of you, and the world's watching now. Not for long, the man said. Social media has a short memory. We control the long game. Judges come and go. Politicians fall. But institutions remain. And we built them. He leaned close. Do you really think you've changed anything? That was when Pops walked out of the motel with a cane and a glare that could melt steel. You're damn right he has, Pops growled. He changed me. He changed this city. And you know what scares you? He's not done yet. The man raised a hand. One of his guards pulled a gun. Marcus didn't move. You want to silence me? Do it, but you'll have to shoot me on a street where cameras are watching, while thousands chant my name. You sure you're ready for that kind of truth? The man hesitated. The gun was lowered. You're a fool, the man said. A loud fool. With no army. You're wrong, Malik said through gritted teeth. He has millions, and we're not scared of your shadows anymore. They vanished as quickly as they came, melting into the city's morning fog. Marcus rushed to untie. Malik, you okay? I've had worse, Malik said. But that guy, he's not just rich. He's government adjacent, maybe higher. We knew they'd push back, Marcus said, but I didn't think they'd be this desperate. Later that day, Marcus was invited to a national news debate. The anchor wanted to put him face with Judge Whitaker's legal team. It was a trap. Malik advised against it. Alina agreed. But Marcus said yes. If I'm going to stand for the truth, I have to face their lies in public. The studio lights were harsh. The anchor was neutral at first. Then came the guests. One was a woman named Evelyn Harda, former DOJ advisor turned media consultant. She smiled like a shark. Mr. Marcus Green, she began. A janitor with a heartwarming story, now holding an entire legal system hostage with internet emotions. Tell me, are you actually interested in reform, or just 15 minutes of fame? Marcus leaned forward. I never asked for fame. I asked for justice. For the kid who got locked up for stealing bread while millionaires walk free? For the families who never got their day in court because someone like Whitaker decided they didn't matter? You're painting the system as evil, Evelyn replied. But systems are made of people, imperfect people. You can't burn the house down because one wall has mold. You don't fix mold by ignoring it, Marcus shot back. You tear it out before it spreads. Or is that too messy for your kind of politics? The crowd behind the cameras murmured. The anchor looked rattled. We're live in over 20 countries, he whispered. Please stay civil. But the debate had already gone viral. Clips were posted before the segment ended. Hashtags trended. Hashtag Janitor vs the system. Hashtag Truth on Trial. Hashtag Evelyn exposed. People began digging into Evelyn's past, her ties to dirty lobbying firms, her silence during human rights scandals. Within hours, sponsors pulled her show. She was fired by morning. But Marcus wasn't celebrating. He sat in a diner booth, with Alina eating fries he couldn't taste. It's not over, is it? He asked. No, she said. It's just begun. That night, someone left an envelope at their motel door. No return address. Inside was a single flash drive. Marcus plugged it into a laptop and opened the only file inside. It was a video, grainy old time-stamped 12 years ago. It showed a younger Whitaker, in a room with 2 senators. We need to keep the pipeline full, one senator said. Find the weak ones. Poor, angry, no guidance. Charge them hard. They don't need to be guilty. They just need to plead out. The numbers look good, we get reelected, and the system keeps running. Whitaker nodded. Got it. I'll get the DAS in line. Marcus's stomach turned. Alina covered her mouth. This isn't just corruption. This is industrialized injustice. We leak it? Marcus asked. Not yet, Malik said, entering the room with bruised ribs. We use it. Tomorrow's the rally. Every media outlet will be there. You speak, then drop this like a hammer. Let them try to spin it. The next morning, Marcus stood on the courthouse steps again. The crowd was double the last time. News vans lined the blocks. Helicopters swirled overhead. Marcus looked at Pops. You sure you're up for this? Pops nodded. You walked into hell and came out clean. You think I'm gonna miss that? Alina handed Marcus a mic. You know what to do. Marcus stepped forward. The crowd quieted. You know me, he began. You know my story. But today, I want you to know there's the voices this system tried to erase. The children charged as adults. The mothers evicted for telling the truth. The janitors who were never just janitors. Today, I bring proof, not rumors, not but recorded truth. He held up the flash drive. This file contains a confession, a plan, a cold, systematic abuse of power. If anything happens to me, it goes public automatically. And trust me, it's enough to bring down more than just one judge. He looked directly into the cameras. To the people still hiding in suits and shadows, I'm not scared of you. We're not scared anymore. The crowd exploded in applause. But across the street, inside a black SUV, the man in the expensive suit lit a cigar and made a call. They went nuclear, he said. Pull the trigger. Are you sure? The voice replied. If we act now, there's no going back. Do it, he said. He wants a war. We'll give him one. The screen on Alina's livestream suddenly went black. Cell signals died. Police scanners jammed. A fire broke out near City Hall. Panic rippled through the crowd. Marcus looked around. This isn't normal, he said. Something's coming. Pops clutched his chest. Alina grabbed her phone. Malik whispered, they're silencing the whole city. Then, a series of explosions rocked the street. Tear gas canisters rained down. Riot police with no badges stormed the square. And somewhere above, a sniper's laser danced across Marcus's chest. The red dot moved slowly over Marcus's chest. People were screaming. Tear gas filled the air. The courthouse steps, just moments ago a place of hope and truth, had become a battlefield. Malik grabbed Marcus by the collar and yanked him down. Behind a barricade, "Sniper," he shouted, coughing from the gas. Alina pulled Pops close, shielding him as they crouched behind a news van. This isn't police, she said, choking. They're mercenaries. No name tags, no warnings. Just force. Marcus's eyes were burning, but his mind was clear. They're trying to end it. All of it. In one move, cameras went black. Live streams were cut. But inside the chaos, cell phones still captured blurry footage. Protesters were shouting, names: Marcus, Pops, Justice, Truth. Some were bleeding, others carried signs like shields. Then someone, a young girl with a homemade sign, stood in front of the officers. I'm 12, she said, crying, and I want to be a judge someday, but not like him. She pointed toward the courthouse. The line of officers paused, just for a second. And in that pause, Marcus stood up. No, Malik shouted, you'll get shot. They already tried, Marcus said. If I die, I want them to see my face. He walked through the smoke, arms raised. You want to silence me? You want to end this because I spoke the truth? Go ahead, but you'll do it while the world watches. Because even if you shut down, the internet truth finds a way. One of the masked officers hesitated. He looked down, then dropped his shield. Others followed. A ripple of doubt spread across the line. Then a whistle cut through the air. Another gas canister rolled forward, but this time, the crowd kicked it back. Then more shields hit the ground. A few officers took off their helmets, cameras hidden. In the crowd were still recording. Inside the black SUV, the man with the cigar cursed. They're not breaking. He's turning them. We still have the file. his assistant said. If we delete it, we can't, he snapped. He made backups. It's over. Just then, a black car pulled up behind them. A woman stepped out, holding a badge. FBI, she said. Hands where I can see them. The man didn't move. You're making a mistake. No, she replied. You did. Years ago, and now the house you built on lies is collapsing. Bach. At the courthouse, Marcus helped Pops onto the steps. You okay, old man? He asked, trying to smile. Better than ever, Pops whispered. That bullet didn't come from my chest, it hit the system instead. Malik limped forward. Guys, the files went live. Someone in the crowd uploaded the flash drive. It's everywhere. News sites, forums, even dark web backups. Alina held up her phone. It's trending in 30 countries. Judges resigning. Investigations opening. Evelyn Hart's being questioned under oath. Whitaker's lawyers vanished. Suddenly, the courthouse doors opened. Slowly, quietly, Judge Whitaker walked out. Alone. No guards, no robe. Just a suit and his usual arrogance. Do you think you've won? He asked Marcus. You think this changes anything? Marcus stepped forward. It already has. You don't control the story anymore. We do. Whitaker smirked. They'll replace me. The system needs someone in my seat. Maybe, Marcus said. But the next one will think twice before they roll their eyes at the janitor's story. The judge laughed. I underestimated you. That was my mistake. I thought you were just a floor cleaner. I was, Marcus said. And I cleaned more than floors. I cleaned the dirt out of this courtroom. Out of your reputation. Out of the lies you thought would never surface. Whitaker raised his hands. Then arrest me. Let the cameras see it. Turn me into a villain. It doesn't matter. This country forgets. Just then, Pops stepped beside Marcus's. They forget villains, not martyrs, not fighters, and my son. He's both. Agents moved forward. Whitaker was cuffed. The crowd erupted not with rage, but with relief. For the first time in years, justice didn't feel like a joke. Reporters flooded the square again. Alina gave interviews. Malik stood, with his arm around Marcus and Pops. He just smiled. Took you long enough, he joked. Marcus looked around. We still have a long way to go. The system's broken in more than one place. Then we fix it, Malik said. Bit by bit. Over the next few days, things changed fast. Courts reopened, old cases. Judges were audited. Campaign donations were tracked. And a new movement was born not from politicians, but from janitors, teachers, nurses, delivery drivers, and street vendors. People who were never supposed to matter suddenly realized they could, that they do. A documentary was made by Alina. It was called The Janitor's Testimony. Marcus gave speeches at law schools. Pops started teaching at community centers. Malik ran for city council, and won, but it wasn't perfect. Threats still came. Powerful people still pushed back. Some files were lost, some truths buried again. Yet for every door that closed, 10 more opened. One night, months later, Marcus sat in a quiet cafe. A man in a plain coat sat across from him. You turned the tide, the man said. We've been watching. Marcus didn't react. Who's we? People who know what happens when good men stay silent. He slid a card across the table. No name, just a symbol. There's a bigger fight coming, the man said. You ready? Marcus looked down, then back up. I was born ready, but this time, I'm not fighting alone. The man nodded. You changed the court. Next, change the country. He stood and walked out, leaving Marcus staring at the card. He felt tired, but not defeated. For the first time in his life, he felt like more than a survivor. He felt like a builder, a breaker of chains, a storyteller. The janitor who made a nation. Listen, and somewhere, in a prison cell awaiting trial, Judge Whitaker watched the news, hands shaking, face pale. Play it again, he whispered. I want to hear what he said. The screen showed Marcus's final words from the courthouse steps. The truth is not weak. It's patient, and it never dies.